everyone, it's Bmar here from Kid from Cebu. This is my very first video where I'll show my face, so if it's not perfect, just bear with me. Just a bit of context of myself. I've been coming to and from Cebu since 2011. I was born in Cebu in 95. We migrated to Australia in 2007. So you could say I have a perspective of both Western and also local. I own my own place in Cebu. A bit of a spoiler alert, I do love going to Cebu. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. Philippines is one of my favorite countries in the world. Granted, I've only been to a few countries. On this video, I wanted to talk about my honest review of Cebu in 2025. So, needless to say, Cebu is not perfect by any means. A lot of the things I'll talk about in this video will be about things that they've improved on and also things they can improve on. So, I went back to Cebu just last month. I've been there. I was there for 6 weeks, from the 13th of June to the 24th of July. This video is going to be all about that experience that I went through there. I might have some comparisons of my past visits. I pretty much have visited every year, except when the pandemic happened. I have a lot of things in mind about his videos. Yeah, stay tuned. When you first arrive in Cebu, obviously the airport experience would be the first sort of impression you get of the city. I'm gonna talk about that real quick. To start off with, I noticed that the porters that usually hang around the outside, they're less sort of pesky. I don't know if compared to the past visits that I went through in 2023, I believe it was. And I noticed on that year, they're a lot more aggressive when it comes to approaching you, trying to force their way into grabbing your bags. Well, in 2025, they were a lot more chill. I don't know if it's just my experience, my particular experience when I was there. Maybe they were, they were a bit chill, maybe because the weather is rainy. But I noticed that they weren't as annoying as before. So I think it's a plus. You get the option to avail their services. I personally find them really useful, especially if you're a Filipino and you have a lot of pasalubong. You usually typically have big bags. For myself, I like availing their service because I think it's handy. No, you don't have to carry your bags, at least from when you come out of the arrivals gate up to your taxi or your Grab. I think it's quite a handy service. So the airport itself, I think, is amazing. Just to compare it to my visit in Manila on the same trip. Manila airport, I don't know what it was, but it was dark. It was busy. It felt slow. So in comparison, Cebu airport is quite modern. I really like transiting there. I like spending time at Cebu airport, both domestic and international airports. So it's a big plus. So Cebu outdone itself on that front. The airport is a good impression, and you can see a lot of thoughtful architecture with the actual airport itself. It feels like a Filipino airport that is modern, and I hope that Manila follows suit because the airport over there does look quite dated. So yeah, Cebu, +1 on that. When you step outside the airport, you go into traffic. So at the time that I arrived in Cebu, it was around 1 p.m. I believe, and that during 1 p.m. it's just right after rush hour. Actually, it was around 2 p.m. my bad. The traffic was not as heavy as it would be at other times when it's rush hour, but at the same time, when we arrived at the condo, we went to Mandawi Phone, which is like a sort of like an IKEA in Cebu. We took the road from the condo all the way out to the Kasambagan road. I can't remember the exact name of the road, but it goes through the city Times Square, I think it's called, where all the restaurants over there are. I'm rambling, but all I'm gonna say is it was around 5 p.m. and the traffic was really bad. I do have a video of that right here, and it was probably a 1.5 kilometer journey, and it probably took like 20 to 30 minutes. So that's actually horrible. It's been an ongoing issue in Cebu since probably my existence, probably way before that, and it's not been addressed yet. There have been talks of a BRT, which, as far as I know, countries like Japan also utilize, Singapore. I'm hoping that would sort of encourage people to take public transport more, and also drop their private vehicles where there's only one person on a massive SUV. But yeah, it's I'm hoping that this traffic issue somehow will get addressed, because it's one of the sort of first impressions you get of Cebu, and it's not a good one, to say the least. Right, so point number 3 is the flooding. So the flooding was not actually bad, mainly in the areas that I visited. So Cebu Business Park, IT Park, and around Malbola area. I know that during the time that I was there, especially around July, it was raining quite hard. So a lot of the key streets in Cebu, like Colon Street, SRP, they were all pretty much flooded. And it's flooding, not to get overly political in this video, has been an ongoing issue. There were many promises made. Nothing has come into fruition. I'm not an expert when it comes to infrastructure, but you know, this has been an ongoing issue in Cebu, so I'm really hoping this will get resolved soon, because this is also one of the sort of derailers, so to speak, when it comes to visiting Cebu. I don't know about other places or other countries like Bali or Thailand, if they have any issues with flooding, but Cebu, definitely one of the key derailers is flooding. And it's not just Cebu, it's also Manila. I'm not sure if Iloilo or Davao has better flood control, but hopefully they do, and hopefully Cebu can follow suit. Okay, so you might have noticed that I'm sort of talking about the negatives and the positives side by side. It's just to keep you sort of engaged in the video. I don't want to, talk about 5 negative things in a row. That's going to be sort of not good for the video. So the next point that I'm going to get into is the cost of living. So I noticed that the cost of living in Cebu has skyrocketed quite a bit. So from groceries, eating out, I simply just can't imagine living a local wage and having to deal with the prices of Cebu. Some of the prices go even beyond Australian prices, like for example electronics. Some of the vegetables are even more expensive than over here, which is quite crazy, to be honest. I know, but when it comes to the produce, I can only speak for the prices in groceries like Ayala and SM. Obviously, it will be cheaper if you shop at Carbon. Yeah, so I asked one of my friends over there if, well, we went to a bar. I went to a bar with my friend, and it was, I would say, maybe a mid-tier bar, but an IT park. I asked him if, he can imagine himself on his wage, which is around 30k pesos per month. If he can imagine himself going into this bar and having a drink. And he said, no way in hell. Like, he simply said he simply can't afford it. And he usually stays away from this type of places. So, just a bit of perspective from a individual who was actually living there and working there. So that tells me that, things are not going well when it comes to the cost of living there. So it's definitely going up and up and up, and the wage is either stagnant or low. On this front, I personally think that, I basically feel for the locals there. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't want to get too political, like I said. So on the variety side of things, I noticed that there were a lot of developments, especially in SRP. So I went to New Star a couple of times. It was to put it into layman terms, it was quite a nice Crown-like resort. If you don't know what Crown is, it's like a casino resort type of chain around the world, and it's quite prominent here in Perth. So I can compare New Star to it, except New Star actually has a ton of designer stores, a ton of restaurants. So I would even rank it above Crown, to be honest. Like, it's quite a nice hotel, and it's not even completely finished yet. They're still building, I think, a Summit Hotel. I think the actual New Star Hotel itself is still, or is it the Philly Hotel? I forget, but it's still on the up and up. So there's also the SM Arena right across SM Seaside, and you have a couple of sky bridges that connect SM Seaside to the arena, and another sky bridge that connects City de Mare, which is like a condominium development. It connects it to El Corso, which is right next to New Star. So I think the development in SRP is going quite nicely, and I see it becoming like a hub. Hopefully they add more sky bridges to give pedestrians the ability to access the other side from SMC side to the New Star side of things. Connecting those areas would be instrumental into increasing the foot traffic in that area. SMC side, I noticed, especially on weekdays, it's quite quiet. So I think making it more pedestrian friendly would be the way to go in that area, and it's going along quite nicely. And I just don't want to talk about SRP. I think I also went to Tops. The new Tops was quite a nice area. It's a huge upgrade from the old Tops. There's a lot of restaurants. There was live music when I was there. There was a couple of places where you can get drinks. So overall, the development has been quite nice in Cebu. It's approaching international standards. I just hope that the flood control and the traffic follow suit, because Cebu is a city that is growing day by day, and you start to notice that it's having trouble keeping up. So yeah, that's definitely going to be a major improvement point for Cebu to address flooding and